Man, I tell you, citizens, I swear, sometimes I think about it, HB, Tracy. Mm-hmm. You know, it's at one point, it's been about 3 points in my career that I was like, okay, man, I did what I have to do with radio, and you know, this is, okay, cool, man, I could ride off into the sunset, and I'm happy. Mm-hmm. And then something to call me and bring me back to the table, and then I wonder, why am I back doing this? And it's for moments like these, moments like the one that's happening now, is when that answer is revealed to me. Because if I didn't have this platform, I wouldn't be able to put the spotlight on some of my friends who have done some pioneering, milestone, vanguard events in hip-hop culture where the story has never been told. I talk about it often. I see a lot of documentaries. I see a lot of conversations, and I see a lot of void and gaps in these conversations because folks don't have the information. They don't know. And it ain't like we had, you know, the internet at the time of, you know, when some of these things were taking place. Especially, it was a regional divide that was happening between publications and culture, you know, in regions. And so there was a lot of things happening in the South at the same things were happening in the Southeast. But so a lot of things happening in the Northwest at the same time things were happening in the Northeast. But if the magazines didn't cover it, you wouldn't know. So there's a big gaps of history, just little nuanced things that took place in California that people wasn't aware of. And I take great pride in bringing up these two gentlemen, these two kings of the culture, I call them. These dudes have been selfless throughout their whole time, at least as long as I've known them, since the early 90s. They've been selfless and they've been committed and dedicated to this culture, the entire culture, not just the MCs that chart on the Billboard, but the MCs that you may not know of that are doper than some of those guys or women that are charting on the Billboard. The DJing was always the cornerstone and highlighted. The dance has always been cornerstone and highlighted. The art has always been highlighted when you came into their space. The space was created for those people who may not have the establishment behind them, but just love the culture. It was a safe space. I remember King Tech and I used to, when we were doing the Wake Up Show on Saturday nights in Los Angeles on 92.3 The Beat. And, man, sometimes I'll be doing the show. I think he used to get over around 1 a.m. or something. You know, we'll do the show for like 3 hours. And in the third hour, I'm waiting to get off the show so I could run to this club called Elements. Club Elements was the place. It was the mecca in L.A. for all things hip-hop. And the people who ran it, man, they were just givers. They were just servants of the culture. And 20 some odd years ago, they had the brilliant idea of, man, let's just document this stuff. Why? I don't know what have happened to it. But 20 years later, they're able to accumulate all of this different footage and these conversations to tell you about a time and era that you may not be familiar with, but you will watch and be happy that you looked and tuned into it because it answers a lot of questions about hip-hop culture. The documentary is called Where We're From, the Elements documentary, available on demand and all the digital platforms. And I have the directors with me right now and good friends, man. The one and only DJ Bonds and Breeze are with us from Elements. Fellas, what's poppin'?
Hey! What's good, brother? Salute you, King. Salute the whole team. All the citizens.
Thank you.
Salute.
Come on, man. Hold up, man. Before we even start this conversation, man, let me rock this trailer real quick.
We go to The Good Life. We go to Project Load. We go to Unity. I want to be about that part of LA.
Elements comes along. They provide a whole nother platform.
Okay, out in the LA, they really doing it.
Elements was the playoffs. We had other open mic spots we would go to, but Elements was raw.
If you were an underground hip-hop artist, your team was not on point if you didn't run through us.
You know, we just had some fun. We're trying to give LA something.
You know what I'm saying? This DJ Bonds for Elements Entertainment.
Sometimes you don't realize how special something is. We just wanted to represent where we were from.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Come on, man. Man, give these guys a round of applause, man. Give these guys a round of applause, man. Yo.
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
When have I seen y'all last?
It's been too long, brother. I remember us chopping up the show like in Phoenix or something like that, man. It's been a long time, man.
It's been a long time. Breeze, what about you?
I don't think I've seen you, brother, since you were in Reseda. So, that's how long that's been. You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
It's been over 20.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute. And we've been just watching you soar and cheering for you over here. So,
Definitely cheering you on, brother.
Man, it's interesting. Well, Heather and Tracy, we're all from the same tribe. DJ Bonds, and these guys don't just do that, man. Bonds, I remember you being in the community and talking with kids, and then Breeze, also photographer, but also just, they always done community activism. I would think we were all that minded. And I remember leaving for New York and getting all kind of backlash from it, right? And thinking, okay, this is my destiny. I love backlash. I got to show people. It was always about show and prove because of who we all were coming up in the 90s. It was like, y'all have no idea. We're more hip-hop than y'all.
Right.
And when people talk about the Tunnel and different clubs on the East Coast, we talked about in L.A., one of the places we talked about was Elements. Can DJ Bonds, why don't you go first? For those who are tuned in, break down Elements and what made it so special at the time that it was, that it was founded.
I think it was special because it was a place where you could walk in, you'll see 4 turntables set up, you'll see myself and my man DJ Stiles on the turntables. You'll see a cipher in front of you of people breakdancing. That's breakdance, but housing, grooving, shocking out, freestyle dancing basically as well. You go out to the back patio, have a smoke, and see some incredible MC battles happening right there in the back patio. And then you walk up to the bar and, holler at a shorty, all at the same venue. Which was kind of, for underground hip-hop, I don't care what city you in, that's kind of unheard of. So we was doing something special where all elements were there in one room celebrating and, really doing the craft and honing the craft. And so it was every week, every Sunday. And, a lot of the times the battles you guys would do on Saturday nights would spill over to our club. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Where, I heard you on the radio last night. I got you. And then on stage, on site, just, people would get at each other, man. So it was crazy, man, how we were just all, it was a synergy at the time.
It was a synergy.
Radio. Yeah, it really was a synergy, man. Between radio and the club and the record stores and everything. It was an incredible time.
In this documentary, you're going to see a lot of incredible people that ran through Elements and then also ran through Project Blow. Breeze, can you, the Good Life Cafe, it's still kind of, I think, vague to a lot of people outside of L.A. what that movement was and who came through it and why was it important at that time, too?
Project Blow was the ultimate workshop. If you were an MC, that's where you wanted to be. And that was a place where you can see not only, maybe your neighbor go freestyle, but also AC Alone and Micah 9 would come through. Abstract Rude would be there. And so you had access to legends as well, and it was, for those that don't know LA, it's very geographically spread out. So Project Blow is in South LA. So if you're going south of Wilshire, it all changes. For those that live in LA, they know what I'm talking about. The neighborhood starts to change. So not too many people, you had to be a little brave to come out to Project Blow, but so a lot of people didn't really go to it. We were more north of that, but they were always a staple in hip hop long before we were doing our thing through the Good Life and then eventually to Project Blow.
Freestyle Fellowship.
Yeah, man.
We play a little bit of this here. We play a little 7 Seal.
Be advised they'll come. Be advised they'll come in from a sky kingdom. Hear the trumpets and then be advised they'll come from a pure black whirlwind. Be advised they'll come
Freestyle Fellowship was so important.
Man. Yeah.
You guys, I wasn't in L.A. when Project Blow was happening. I was coming to L.A. to experience it, right?
Right.
Ava DuVernay, HB, came through Good Life. Yeah. You know, a lot of amazing people came through Project Blow, Good Life Cafe. One of the things you guys talk about, this documentary is so important, and I'm hoping, you know, I wish we had more time to speak on it. Elements lasted from what year to what year?
Roughly 98 to 2002, about 4 year span.
About 4 year spans. And when you look at this documentary, one of the things that I always talk about is that kind of I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to deal with is that we would make a lot of friends that came from a lot of places. A lot of folks would come to town, come on our show. We thought Elements, you know, it was a part of the tour as well. And then, you know, when you would see them other places, they never really fully told the story. And so it was a lot of misconceptions about what L.A. was. And you guys kind of break down the dichotomy in L.A. and the layers to the different type of artistry. Can you speak to that? Do you feel like L.A. hip-hop to date has been properly documented and represented? And can you speak to the kind of perceptions that people had of what L.A. hip-hop was when they first came?
You got
I don't think it's been properly documented, which is part of the inspiration for us, you know, saying what we did. And I want to make it clear that, you know, LA is known for gangster rap, but that's not all we're about. And that's what we wanted to make clear with the film. That's not all this city is about. It has an enormous amount of organic culture that has never been talked about. Do we love that stuff? Of course it is. We grew up with, you know, Compton's Most Wanted, Above the Law, you know, NWA, of course. We grew up with all that. And if you're from LA, you know, if you're black and brown, you're going to be gang affiliated in one way or another, whether it's through your family, through school or something. So it's part of our culture, but we just wanted to emphasize really that that's not all we're about. We have some incredible, incredible artists out here that are still relevant to this day. And you can still see the influence of that LA underground to this day. So we're just like, we just wanted to shine light on you know, the other part of LA that doesn't get shined on.
Absolutely. Bizzle, you want to jump in?
No, congratulations. Hey, you guys, it's Heather. Thank you so much. And thank you for your work in doing this, because I always laugh with Sway. I remember going out to LA a few times, but some of my earliest memories and where I was confused about LA and hip hop, I remember being in this club in Los Angeles, and it was packed, it was crowded, and Tim Dog, F. Compton came on. I was like, yo, let me get into a corner. It's about to be a riot. But instead, they were all singing F. Compton, and I was like, wait a minute, and how they doing this? I didn't understand how. I was in LA and everybody was singing F. Compton, so that kind of blew my mind. 2 nights later, I went to a club that was like, it put me in this whole mood of like the Rican Poetry Cafe, Lyricist Lounge. It was beads, it was locks in the hair, it was you know, dashiki, and I was like, how come nobody is talking about this? Like, I remember thinking that, how come I don't see this in videos? I thought this was only in New York. So thank you guys for somebody like me who lives and breathes hip hop, you know, especially during those times, for kind of, it sounds like, I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but it sounds like you guys are touching on all of that, because here on the East Coast, I can tell you, we did not know. Like, I just didn't even think you can play Tim Dog in LA. I didn't think that made sense. I didn't think that it was places like, you know, Lyricist Lounge or, you know, poetry spots. Like, I didn't know that. So thank you for your work and kind of just educating all of us in this. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. First of all, it's just an honor to talk to both y'all.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Fan for a long time. But to touch on that, there was a lot of that being pushed in the media, you know, and mainstream thing. And Soren Baker touches on that, how you had this whole push with the Biggie and Pac thing. But if you really, you know, were part of the scene, you knew, like, that's not us. We got so much love for the East Coast. that, you know, J. Rue the Damager can do a show in the middle of downtown LA and sell it out. And that was, like you said, that's what was really going on. You have this thing being pushed in the media, but that was the real LA, you know, and it always has been. So,
Tracy, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful to have you guys on the show. I'm curious because when it comes to, you know, capturing, but also depositing into the rise of underground hip hop artists, if that artist does eventually catch a mainstream lick, was it difficult for you to at all embrace that? Because there's so many folks, especially fans, who will really love an artist when they're only known to them, right? That kind of makes it feel very special and intimate. And then once everyone knows, even if like your favorite song, you know, there's been times for myself where I'm like, I hope this doesn't become the single because I want this to be like that exclusive, like only we know this song, which shows how much we only know this artist. And then everyone gets their hands on it. It's like, it kind of dilutes the magic. Like, did you have to kind of shift your perspective on that?
I don't think so. I think, you know, with artists like Dilated Peoples or Jurassic 5, you know, as they got signed to a major, or as you see different videos come out, you know, there's a pride. There's a pride there of like, oh, that's us. We made it too, kind of thing. So it was, you know, I can't put it really into words, but the way I would best describe it is just an extreme pride for knowing that those folks not only made it, but to be quite honest with you, know, my brother Evidence is still doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there are these moments in our culture that it seems to keep going and going and going. And LA is definitely part of that. Shout out to Hyro as well, because talking to Ty J at Hyro Day about a week or two ago, there's just love between the Bay and LA too, between crews of Blowed and Hieroglyphics. And so we just champion, you know, basically, you know, our culture and our style, the underground, you know, from LA to the Bay and just West Coast, you know, California, you know, just in general.
Got it.
That's an interesting question, though, Tracy, and I totally get it. I think our mentality, and you know, and then you guys could speak to it. Like in LA at the time, when we came down from the Bay, we kind of had already established ourselves in the Bay Area and for really breaking artists, and it helped bring major artists to the West Coast because of the size of the market with the Bay and LA. But prior to coming to LA, we did that heavy. So artists like Nas or Akinelli or Big, before Big became Big, or Akinelli or whoever, Common, you know, I can name a ton of artists. When those artists, you know, by the time we came to LA, you had The Joint, you had, you know, West Side Radio, you had Friday Night Flavors, you know, Baker Boys, Chalk, C Minus, you had all of these extensions of the culture working in unison. So it made it even more powerful for the movement. And so, and you had elements, and you had other clubs that were popping up or other venues and people who were doing events, and it all worked in unison. So when you saw the Alcoholics reach mainstream success, or you saw King T or somebody from the culture, you felt like, great, we want to make sure we have proper representation there too. Not a knock on those who's making it. If it's a father MC or whatever, they do something totally different, that's fine for them. But we want to make sure these true spitters get in position. And it took all of that synergy. It wasn't one thing. It took all of that synergy to make it happen. So it took all of that for Jurassic 5 to get signed to Interscope, or for Dilated Peoples and all of these groups, Planet Asia. These groups are literally coming to our shows and going to their shows, to their stages, and A&R people call us, what do you think of this guy? We heard him on the show, or we saw him on the stage at Elements. You should sign that guy. You know, he might not, you know, right? And so it took all of that. So when people made it, the way I saw it was, another one of the good guys in position. Is that that how y'all felt too?
It's true. It's true. It's true. I mean, but there was also, I definitely agree with that, but we touched on this on the film too, and you saw this. There was an independent scene movement as well, where you had ABB Records You had Stone's Throw Records. You had Good Vibe Records. You had Raucous on the East Coast. So, like, for example, when Dilated got signed to Capitol, they were already Dilated, you know, and that's what made it dope. Is it was a similar situation to Wu-Tang, where it was like, we don't need the major needs us. And I remember vividly, Bonds and I, we were working at Fat Beats LA, and we did Dilated Peoples in store at midnight, and the place, you couldn't move. We were sardines. It was that packed. And I remember the A&Rs from Capitol being there and being like shocked. They were like, wow, we didn't know, you know, they were like, wow, what did we sign? They're like, we definitely signed something that was great here. And so we definitely felt that pride, like Bonds was saying, like, yo, this is they're repping our city and they're repping us. They're repping the voice that isn't really heard. So groups like Dialectic, J5, Self-Scientific Fellowship, they were the voice of the unheard, especially in our city.
Absolutely. Let's name some of the names that came through that Element stage. You know, when you watch the documentary. And let's start with Medusa. Let's start with Medusa.
Go grab a flyer. We mentioned some of them, you know, from Defari and Lupac, you know, Rasco, Planet Asia, you know, Exhibit, Get Blessed the Stage. You know, we had, you know, we would do these. We had a weekly, obviously, but we somehow, some way, you know, we talk about in the documentary, we fell into being able to produce bigger shows and concerts. And probably my favorite would be Live at the Barbecue, where we booked the Spigot Couture and then added on to it. So the Spigot Couture had De La Soul, Common, Talib Kweli, Barrel Munch, Biz Markie, rest in peace. It had that, and then we added on J-Rue, Mos Def, Souls of Mischief, The Executioners, The Beat Junkies. We had AC and Lone, Abstract Groove. We had like this incredible lineup, and it's like, you know, sit back 20 years later, like, man, that show was off the chain. You know, that's just pure talent wise. You know what I'm saying? No pay for play. No, you know, you give me $100, I'll let you get on, or, you know, none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you didn't do that, right?
Nah. You can't pay me to get. If you whack, you're not getting on my stage, man. You can't pay me no amount of money to get on my stage if you whack. So we wasn't doing that. No.
Yeah, it was a pure time for all of us. Like we were committed 110 to culture, you know, and it just didn't seem right to charge people to play their songs on the radio. It didn't seem right. Like it's like you was going against the rules. You was going against the culture when you did that. These guys are being fairly modest to me, though. That Elements movement was really partially part of a lot of people's beginnings and careers. And when he mentions, you know, like J. Rule, Mos Def, and, you know, other folks like that, you know, they didn't have many places to go. You know, but when they came to L.A., they had many places to go. A lot of their buzzes, even Wu-Tang Clan came to the Bay before they came to L.A., and we had Rifkin keep them out there for 30 days. And like, man, just let them soak up the energy, then take them down to L.A., soak up the energy. You know, a lot. The mainstream radio wasn't going to be playing, you know, Protect Your Neck. You know, that wasn't gonna happen. And so with us in position, and the Mike Nordones and the King M's and the Julio G's and the Easy E's and the Chalk and C minuses and the Baker Boys and the Big Boy, you know, all these different folks were. This was before he was in Morning, so all these different folks were in position, and it took that to really elevate these artists. The way it was. So I want to say salute to y'all. Well done on the doc, man. By the way, man, you know I was eating popcorn like, thank you. You know, DJ Revolution. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to you, brother. You used to show us so much love as well back then. I would come through with our flyers, and you would just be like, yo, get on and do your thing. And you would put me on. Like, he didn't. You didn't announce it. You were like, you get on the mic and you announce your show. And that was just love, a lot of love. You didn't have to do that, you know what I'm saying? So salute to you as well, brother.
Oh, it's all, man, you giving me chills, man. I don't know if you remember that, man. We should have took more pictures. And I had to do it. Because you guys know what it was like. Radio was a key component to a lot of this success, and we didn't have any access to it. And so when we all started getting in position, I never knew how long it would last. because we had been through it in the
Yeah.
Bay, and it was like shit. Once we came to, I think we came to L.A. in '94, started 93, 94 on the beat, and it was like, oh shit, we got to do this before the time run out. You know, the reason why we let, I know this, we talking about this documentary, but all this stuff was happening at the same time. They mentioned Fat Beats LA. When the first time I ever did anything for MTV, when they wanted to meet me and see me, I made them meet me at Fat Beats LA. You know, and they brought a camera and started filming me doing news reports, and evidence from Dilated People happened to be there, just, you know, digging in the crates. You know, and right, ain't that something? And that's how, and the rest is history. This documentary, Citizens, I want to encourage everybody to check it out. I want to have you guys come on the show, but I want to sit down and do something with you in person when we get a chance. You know, DJ Revolution from the Wake Up Show. He did. Was he the music supervisor?
Oh man, he was our composer. He did 60-some beats. He saved us. He came through when I got that quote for that sample the first time. I was like, ain't no way I could pay all this money for all these samples. So he came through and he made original beats, 60 original beats, and then on top of that, he made basically the theme song with us with Planet Asia, you know, called Elements. And man, it's one of those things where you get a chance to hear one of your favorite MCs talk about, you know, how we used to get down back in the day on a beat produced by the homie. It was just, man, so much pride in that song right there. So that's on Spotify, that's on all the different Apple Music and all that. You know, or if you go to elementsdoc.com, it's right there, you know, all the different links, you know, to watch the doc, listen to songs, and, you know, get to know us a little bit more. You know,
elementsdoc.com. Rod G produced on it too from the crew. This was amazing, man.
Shout out to Rod G.
Shout out to Rod G. Rod G. Salute, brother.
Absolutely, man. And it's amazing that you guys were able to really document this. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of it. Looking forward to seeing you all. What's going on with you now? What are y'all doing now? Bonds, what you doing? Breeze, what's popping? What y'all doing now?
Man, I'm a project manager for a nonprofit. You know, I've been doing the education thing for forever. So, you know, back then, those concerts, it was footage by little kids who had just got out of juvenile hall, and they were like in programs where we put a camera, you know, into the hands. And some of that, the far right footage is actually a kid who just got out of juvenile hall, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm still in education. I still help, you know, push educational equity for Black and brown youth in California. So if you're an African-American superintendent or administrator in the state of California, then I'm that guy behind the scenes trying to push for the educational equity in California for you. So that's what I do. That's mine.
Hey, man, y'all follow him at DJ Bonds 007. DJ Bonds 007. I like that. Breeze, what about you?
Recording engineering. I you know, just focusing on that, production. Got a 12-inch on vinyl coming out in November with 2Mex of the Visionaries, so look for that. But been recording a lot of artists in LA lately. I really always love the recording aspect of that, so I'm focusing on that. And I mean, we're also, Bonds and I, we're back in the lab. Expect future work. There was a lot of stuff that we didn't get to put in the film. A lot. So expect future work. So we're still in the lab cutting other stuff right now, so expect, you know, that's what we're doing right now.
Okay. Let me ask you this before I let you go, because
yes, sir.
A couple people I want to ask you guys to break down their significance in history. Even if y'all never heard of these folks, Citizens, I just want you to know who they are. One of which, because she was so powerful and conscious and unique. From the time I first met her, I remember meeting her I went to go see the Alcoholics perform, and I don't even know what club or venue it was at, right after one of the Wake Up shows. And I walked in, I just saw this woman on stage who was making sounds. She was rapping in sounds. I didn't know what was going on. Like, what is that? I didn't know if it was a machine. And then she was freestyling and coming back on the one, and I never saw anyone with her style or uniqueness, what she did with her voice and even her look. Medusa. Talk about Medusa and her role in LA hip hop.
That is LA royalty right there.
Mm-hmm.
LA royalty. It's crazy. She's the only one I've personally seen who draws like celebrities going to Project Blow. You know, whenever she's performed there, she's like the unsung queen of LA hip hop. So that's pretty much sums it up for me right there. She's royalty. You know,
down to earth, cool as hell.
Yeah.
And you know, she spit every once in a while. She just starts singing on you, and all of a sudden you got some Aretha Franklin coming out of her. So she's just gifted and talented. So salute, you know, Medusa.
Medusa. Okay, now also I'm gonna take you back. I'm gonna take when King Tech and I we came up MCing and DJing but dancing, you know what I mean, as well. And man, LA had an ill ass freestyle dance movement that was happening to HB. It was like, oh, these dudes are ridiculous, you know. And and it was clubs. Was it a club called The World in LA, or was it?
It was World on Wheels.
World on Wheels, but then was it an Orbit in LA?
There was Orbit. Yeah,
Orbit. Okay, so I can't think of what club I went to, and I saw the Scheme Team. Break down who the Scheme Team are and their significance.
You got to breathe.
Man, the Scheme Team are innovators. They are innovators. Okay, so before I saw the Scheme Team and the Soul Brothers, everybody was pretty much, breakdancing and getting into like Hammer, MC Hammer type of
like Hammer. I had the Hammer pants on.
Yeah. So, and then I remember seeing the video for Ain't Saying Nothing, which was Divine Styler, and his dancers were the Scheme Team. And when I saw the Scheme Team, they were doing things that nobody was doing at the time, as far as movement, dance style, even the way they dressed was so different. We're talking like just pants that are sprayed up and down with all types of graffiti or hieroglyphics or whatever it was. And they like back then, if you saw those guys, people were like, yo, what's up with these guys? That was the Scheme Team. They were like the different dudes as far as dance, along with the Soul Brothers, who used to back up Def Jeff. And these guys were prominent in LA. And you would see them at Orbit. You would see them at another club called United Nations. You would see them at Unity. Rest in peace, Bigger B.
Bigger B.
Yeah, and I remember this one particular memory. I saw Gangstar for the Step in the Arena tour at the Hollywood Palladium. Sold out. If anybody knows Hollywood, it's about 2,000 people. 4,000 people. About 90% of that crowd that night was dancers, and you literally had about 20 dance ciphers going on at once, along with the Scheme Team, the Soul Brothers, and all these dance crews that were in LA. And I at that time, I wish we had a cell phone, because if I described it to you, it sounds very surreal. And I'm not exaggerating when I say there were about 20 circles going on at once. And of course, when Gangstar came on, everybody just went nuts. So that was LA, and we barely touched on that LA
on the dance.
We're barely touching on anything. So there's still a lot there on the surface, and that's why I say expect future work. So
I think
it was an incredible movement, man. I still have my tickets up from that night.
Oh my gosh, that's man, NFT it, baby. Let's get this money. All right,
Facts though.
Well, I got you. I don't know if y'all got to go somewhere else, but I might as well ask you these questions while I got you.
No.
Okay,
we here, man. Yours, we here.
Okay, and a lot of stuff. See, the United Nations, man. That's where I saw them dance, bro. That's where I saw them dance.
Yeah.
United Nations, and their style, HB, like, oh my gosh, it was. Man, I immediately took pieces of bits of that, because we used to club a lot in the Bay, Club Townsend, 330 Rich, and we would sit down. We would sit for 4 hours and just dance and dance and dance. I was biting their whole shit. I took their whole shit. Come on, man. I was smooth, baby. Okay, so I also want to Carmelita Sanchez. Way when we came to L.A., one of the first people to greet me, and I want to say, she was Delicious Vinyl at that time. So when you bring up Def Jeff, he was on Delicious Vinyl. And I remember coming to L.A. for some event, you know, as radio guys, Tech and I, and it was like, okay, L.A. was always a great experience. You know, wow, that's, you know, L.A. And I remember her greeting me at the event at the door, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm Sway from Sway and Tech Wake Up Show. She's like, no, I know you are. Come on, follow me. And from that point on, Carmelita became our sister, and she was a major part of the Wake Up Show in L.A., and partially because she was a major, now that I look back, she was a connector, right? She was one of those people that connected a lot of folks. Can y'all speak on Carmelita Sanchez and her presence in L.A.?
Go ahead, Bonds.
She, you know, you say connection, that's all facts, man. She, what's crazy is, you know, when I used to go to Unity, I didn't realize it till like later on when she said it, but she was at the door, like, you know what I'm saying, working guest list in the door. She's just a part of that culture and that scene in LA. So from, you know, seeing her at Unity, then seeing her at the Wake Up Show, and just such a force, you know, behind the scenes. There's this, you know, you have your MCs, you have the people that are on stage, but you also have the people behind the scenes that make things kind of happen, right? And, you know, for those who know, you know, and behind the scenes, you know, it is a community. We are friends, you know what I'm saying? We do try to put this culture on, and Carmelita is definitely one of those who was a champion for the culture, for pushing records and getting stuff played on the radio and doing her thing. From Delicious Vinyl, and she was at a couple places, though. I know it wasn't just Delicious Vinyl. I know there's one more that I'm missing, but definitely a treasure for LA.
Okay. Man, it's so many corners that they touch on in this documentary. We're talking about Where We're From, the Elements documentary, and it's telling the untold story of LA hip-hop, West Coast, the West Coast movement. And I don't know if I could, you know, emphasize enough, a lot of artists, like a J. Rule the Damager, like a Gang Starr, like a Wu-Tang Clan, like a Nas, like a Biggie, like a Craig Mack, a lot of artists who were from other places, like a Goody Mob, you know, like a Outkast. A lot of artists from other places really broke in L.A. and the Bay on the West Coast. A lot of those artists weren't breaking in their own cities. I know it for a fact because their labels was calling us, and the artists would call us, and they couldn't really make it in their own city. How often you hear about that, man? I had to go somewhere to get it to come back and share it. You know, they couldn't make it in their own city. You couldn't necessarily get on Hot 97 or BLS or whatever those stations were. You might have got on WNWK or what's the one, New York University Radio or Columbia, all these different stations, but you couldn't get to, everybody wasn't getting on Hot 97. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what they say, everybody wasn't getting there. They came to Cali, and they got on that stage at Elements and saw a packed house of people who loved them and actually bought their music and bought tickets. So they got on the Wake Up Show, and when it was syndicated, you realize, damn, one play on this show is going to go to 27 markets in 5 different countries. Let me get to L.A., you know. And so it's a lot of those stories about Elements, about, you know, Good Life, Unity, you know, about, you know, the joint, you know, all these different radio shows, West Coast Radio, all these different things that were happening, Friday Night Flavors, all these different things that were happening, a lot of untold stories. So I want to say salute to y'all for telling the story of LA through the lens of Elements. Congratulations, man. I'm proud of y'all. Proud to be a part of the history.
Thank you so much.
I must have missed the text when somebody said, Sway, come do an interview. I missed it. I'm sorry, Bonds. Did I must have.
It's all good. We going to get you on camera soon, though, because this next project's going to be fire. So, hey, just, you know, so you see that text, it's coming through.
Okay.
It's coming through, brother.
Man, I love y'all, man. Citizens, hit them up at DJ Bonds 007 and at DJ Breeze. Where We're From, the Elements documentary. Well done, fellas. Congratulations. Enter some of those film festivals.
Thank you again.
Win some awards for us. All right?
Man,
yes, we'll do.
Thank you so much.
All right. All love, man. Take care, fella. Peace. All right. Man, proud of that.
Y'all.
Yeah, man. I know it probably seemed kind of esoteric and cryptic. I'm not sure because the conversation got to be a real insider. But I don't want to tell it all. I want you to watch the documentary, citizens, where we're from. It's all real life. The Elements documentary out of L.A. We're going to come back and do a little Celebrity Wire.
Yeah, man. So much is going on. Nicki Minaj, the drama continues.